It's your boy Verse, and this is Open Mike with OTR Mike.
Yeah, that's right. This is the show where the mic is open for any discussion.
Feeling about OTR. I don't think we're done.
You can try to find something that's going to be interesting. Then obviously on the Wednesday you got the actual show and then the overtime show, and and I know
I'm all about.
It's your boy Verse, and this is Open Mike with OTR Mike.
Again, a lot of times I switch with some of the points that you want because it's.
I ended the clip early. I'm sorry, Mikey. I'm sorry. I messed you
It's
up.
all good. It's all good. That's why this is why this is live.
I looked at it and I was like, a minute? Nah, we can't do a minute.
Yeah. I stopped there early when I used it the last time. But hey, look, man, this is why this is a live edition of Open Mike with OTR. We are on the fly. But look, man, let me be the first to welcome you. Let me be the first to welcome you to my first live stream, right?
Yes.
And let me be the first to welcome you to another episode of Open Mic with yours truly. This is the show where the mic is open for any discussion, no matter what it is, who it is, or where it is. So look, we're not going to be here long, right? But I saw something interesting and I wanted to chat about it. So I had to enlist a few of my guys, right? As you see one on the screen already,
Yes.
my executive producer who was backstage handling some things and whatever. Like we gonna make it work. But I wanted to bring some guys in to discuss a particular topic with me. Right. So let me give you the topic real quick. If I can find it, Zay. Okay, I got you right here. So not to go into the whole entire article. What jumped out to me was this part. NFL officials have informed the owners of the league's 32 franchises, that the teams have spent $800 million on fired coaches and front office executives over the past 5 years. The message delivered this past week at the owners' meeting in Dallas was sent by the league as a reminder that as some franchises more significant changes at the end of the season, hundreds of millions of dollars have been squandered recently by teams that may need to act more patiently and less hastily. So I'm gonna start right there. The reason that's interesting to me is because we always hear about teams spending all this money on the players, right? And not wanting to pay certain players. As you see, I don't have the right hat on, but you know who I'm affiliated with. And it's a certain guy who hasn't gotten his money yet. But and the fans typically react to that. Oh, the players don't deserve this. The players, he's asking for too much money. But yet we see that the league and these organizations have spent damn near $1 billion on people who are no longer working for them right now. They're still paying them to this day. So I wanted to bring on some of the fellas to get their opinions, some of the best sports podcasters and YouTubers, in my opinion. I respect their opinion, and that's why they are here. As you see, Jose is already on screen with me. He is one half of the Lunch Break Hot Take Show, and he's 1/3 of Ring Kings Podcast with myself and our other brother B, who is here. He don't want to be here, but he's here. There's B. B, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Mike. Appreciate it.
B is more than a friend of the show. He has the keys to the show as well. So I've already told him when he wants to just jump on here and do an episode on his own, he can already go ahead and do that. So B, I'm playing Jose right now. You know how he speaks and pushes things into existence. There you go. B's solo show will start here on Open Mic.
I'm immune to that. Those old school RPGs, OTR Mike tries to speak solo show into existence. It is very ineffective. But I appreciate you having me on here, though. Thank you.
Okay. We're gonna work on that. And then look, this next brother is, if you saw the intro, he created that. He hates when I point that out to people, but he's a very talented brother. Also does his own thing on this YouTube thing and podcasting. My man Hendo, welcome back to the show.
Oh, you was talking about me?
Yeah, you.
Well, the other person wouldn't really go by brother.
Hendo is the host of Ravens Online Gatekeepers. Listen, if you want that real on the Ravens, Hendo is where it's at. There you go.
Appreciate you.
Go over there and subscribe. But welcome, Hendo. Thanks for coming back to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And listen, I'm most excited about this Brodny solo project, Brodny and the boys coming soon. I'm really excited about
that. Is that after hanging with Hendo?
I think it comes on beforehand.
Okay.
Hey,
interesting.
It's going down. But listen, man, this next person is a very, very special person to me. He, for some reason, feels like I am the GOAT. And I'm far from it, but I take it and I wear it with pride because he said it. If he's saying it, then it may be some truth here. Look, Suge himself has 2 shows, and I'm gonna let him show you and tell you about what's going on with that. But Suge, welcome to the show. Your first time here, baby.
That's why he the best.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I uploaded. It didn't work. I'll fix that.
All good. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, of course you're the GOAT. Yeah, I mean you're not only the GOAT at obviously podcasting and just being a guru, picking the Dallas Cowboys for losing today, but you're also just a good human being, and that's why I call you GOAT. You're an awesome person. So yeah, I'm here, came to hang out with y'all. And yeah, I'm excited hanging with the boys and Brodny, hanging with Hendo and late night with Suge Knight. That's 3 shows in a row that you're about to get. So it's gonna be awesome.
It's going down. Well, look, fellas, I appreciate you.
Do you often lie to your listeners, Mike?
Sometimes.
Never.
Sometimes. Well, look, I appreciate you guys being here on this late stream. It's been a busy couple of weeks. But I had to get something in for the people. So we're here. So we're going to do a live stream. Yes, Ferris, we are live streaming. We are live, baby. So where we get started? Listen, you guys need me to throw up the article again, or did you catch it when you guys were backstage? Apparently, there's a lot of cash being spent on a lot of people who aren't working right now for these organizations.
I think maybe they should. I'm sorry to cut you off, man.
No, this your show.
I think that maybe there should be a cap for coaches like there are for players, right? Because that's kind of the whole thing with the players. You want to be fiscally responsible. You want to make sure you're not overpaying these guys. And it seems like, according to what you had on the screen, they flushed $800 million just down the toilet just over the last 5 years.
Last 5 years. Yeah,
that's a lot in a very short amount of time, and it reminds me of the NBA, whose owners also have a fiscal responsibility problem, and they were just handing out contracts like candy, and they had to institute an amnesty clause. They let each team say, you know what, our bad, we get a mulligan on one contract that they had on the books. They just get to wipe it off of their cap, and it just seems to me like they're not being held. The owners are not holding themselves to the same standards that they like to hold the players to. It's just a little odd.
Yeah. I also want to add, look, your audience is slightly different. It's not all sports audience over here, right? So, why is this relevant to your listeners? Look, I mean, you've done episodes on coaches, black head coaches. We've done one on Coach Prime recently. We talked about kind of the disparity in minority coaches in the league. All right. How does this relate to it? Well, I mean, I think this is a extra piece to it, right? Because it shows that they're willing to throw away money to hire people that they feel comfortable with. It has nothing to do with coaching. It has to do with this person looks like me, or I know this person, because all these jobs are based off of nepotism. So that's why, to B's point, you put a cap on this, that would force them to be a little bit more diligent, in terms of who they hire. But they won't implement that because they want to hire who they want to hire. And, these are billionaires, so they don't care about spending $1 billion, as a whole. They're each team is projecting to make $1 billion annually, right? That's their projections, or by 2027 or something like that. But it does speak to how far they're willing to go to keep certain people out and certain people in.
100%. Hendo, what do you think about this, man?
Well, I will say that they both stole a piece of both of my ideas. But I mean, everything that they said are correct. For me, I think it's more about, listen, I will spend the money on who and where I see fit. When it comes to the majority of coaches, which is probably 85 to 90%, they will shell out the money to get the person that they want. I think that we had an article, the New York Giants are paying 3 head coaches at one time, all of whom are Caucasian. It really doesn't matter. So if there were a hard cap for coaches, which I think there should be, I don't know why that's not in place now, that would force them, once they hire a minority coach, if the cap were small enough, they would have to keep them around. Because just like the David Culley situation, the Steve Wilkes in Arizona situation, you can't just give them a year and say, you know what, you were a placeholder until we find the guy that we really want. If you sign him to that contract, it kind of has to stick. And I think that would kind of make things a little bit better. But for me, I just think when these owners cry broke and say, oh, for instance, we can't pay Lamar because that would bankrupt the team, for instance. But yet and still, we're not going to speak about, over the last 5 years, this extra $60 million that you gave to all these assistant coaches, these coaches, this staff that's no longer here, and the staff that you're currently paying. So I just think it would hold them a little more responsible when it comes to what and with whom they hire.
I agree. Suge, before you go, Ferris did not. I'm believing he's.
Wait. Ferris says, "Sorry, I missed what y'all said." So we're supposed to start the show over for you, Ferris. Is that what you're asking right now?
We're gonna start it over for Ferris. Ferris, this is what we're discussing. Look, the NFL officials have been informed. They have informed the owners of the league, of all 32 teams, that they are spending $800 million on fired coaches and front office executives. So we're kind of discussing that. And, like I said, to open the show, it jumped out to me because we are always complaining about, the players asking for all this money, and then the teams can't afford to pay these players. What's wrong with him for asking for $200 million guaranteed? But then you see the league is paying out almost $1 billion in fees and monies to people who are no longer employed by these organizations. So I thought it was interesting, and it stuck out to me. Suge, what are your thoughts on this, man?
Well, I mean, as being one of the only ones up here, other than I think the Panthers, that has the minority coach, who's been there for a long tenure. And if you talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, we've only had 3 coaches, pretty much for a very long time. I think that, like you said, Mike and Jose spoke to it, it's a waste of money. Like, why are you hiring somebody to just fire them a year or 2 years later? You're talking about coaches being just, you have 4 years remaining on your contract, or you got extended, and then you fire them. It's like you're doing all this and wasting money. Sorry, I have people talking in the background.
Are you good, Suge? Go ahead.
I think he wants us to come back to him.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's
yeah. That's the funny thing about what Suge's mentioning. All these coaches come in and they get 4, 5, 6, 7 year deals. Because the owners, again, are afraid to treat them the way they treat players, because they don't see players as being on the same level as coaches. They don't see them as just regular employees. They feel like they own the players, right? Because what's his name? Tepper. He came in and got a 7-year deal. He got all kinds of power that he didn't earn, he didn't deserve, right? Whereas if you're talking about a player, that's the kind of player who comes in and gets a 1-year prove-it deal, right? And then after that year, okay, maybe we extend you for a couple years, give you a bit more money, see if you can keep it going, and then maybe you'll get a big contract down the line. With Tepper, or I keep saying Tepper, with Matt Rule, they come in, they give him the huge contract right up front. You play one season and you're like, this ain't the guy. But I can't fire him yet because we owe him all this money. Let's keep him around for another year or two. We'll fire him and it won't look quite as bad. But they're just they don't hand out contracts commensurate with a head coach's or the new coach's actual skills or their actual experience or what that warrants. They hand out the contracts solely based on, hey, you're the new head coach. Here's your 5 years. Here's your 6-7 million a year, all of it guaranteed. And we'll see what happens. And they do that even with coaches with whom they have no intention of keeping for those 5 years. The Houston Texans didn't have any intention of keeping David Culley. The Arizona Cardinals had no intention of keeping Steve Wilkes. I mean, I would say even the Giants didn't really intend on keeping Joe Judge. Like, you wanted a Bill Belichick guy, and you got a Bill Belichick guy, and you hoped it worked out, but you didn't really believe it. Right. And so, I think it goes directly to the hiring practices from the owners. And I think it's good for the league to kind of shove it in their face a little bit and say, look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Suge. I didn't want to move on without getting your opinion on this, man. I know you were in the middle of it.
Yeah. I apologize for that. Yeah,
Are you good?
My controller just it died. I had to it's called kids. No, like I was saying, the Steelers, have had a long tenure of only having one coach, and when you look at across the league, I think Jose's right. When they hire a coach, they're not looking at what long term. They're looking for like a quick fix. You fit the mold of what we want around here, and then when it doesn't work out, well, let's get rid of you and try to find another quick fix. And instead of letting it play out, because I think if I'm not mistaken, and someone can correct me, usually it takes about a year or two, unless you have already pieces in places to kind of turn a team around that was left by an old regime. It takes about a year or two to implement your full, of how you want that team built, how you want that team to run. It could be sooner. We've seen coaches come in and do it sooner. But usually when you're starting off with a fresh slate, you want about a year or two. I think coaches deserve a year or two, and by that third year is when you really you want to see things starting to play out. And teams and owners are not doing that. But then, like you said, Mike, they complain about wanting to pay players their worth. Well, if you don't want to pay players their worth, why are you willing to pay coaches not their worth? Because I don't think like you said, it's almost $1 billion. Are these coaches worth $1 billion that they can come in and make your team better? If you're firing them so quick, then obviously they weren't. But yet you're willing to pay them, but you won't play a player who sacrifices their body and who puts your team on their back and wins, and they're the reason your team is winning. But you don't want to pay them. You rather pay the guy that's on the sideline calling the plays, running the practices, because you feel like they make the team go and not the players. So I think it's unfair, and I think it's also, like you said, it's a waste of money. $1 billion on people just sitting at home. If you want to pay someone $1 billion, pay me, pay us.
Right.
Right? I would stay home if you want to pay us $1 billion to do nothing. And I just think that the NFL, I think Hendo and Brodny are right. The NFL needs to do something about this. It's because it's a waste, and people are just they're getting money for doing nothing. So yeah, that's the way I look at it.
And to your point, our guy if it comes up. To your point, our guy Kogan, right? It says it seems fair with these players risking their bodies and livelihood after football. I forgot coaches are filling up the seats in owners' pockets and not the players. 100%, man. Like, it's crazy, right? To think about it. One, this came out for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know if look, I'm never gonna say these owners are running out of money or even close to it, right? So that's not. I don't think it's so much a money thing that they can't afford to do it or else they wouldn't be doing it. But I think it's becoming such a bad look, right? And me personally, I feel like teams like the Texans, right, because they're faced with another decision with Lovie Smith, right? So can you imagine you hired 2 coaches and they get 1 year and you let them go and you're still paying them, and at that 2 black coaches, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is the NFL's way of saying, listen, think about this before you do it, because it's just not a great look on this league. Some of these situations, just to read a couple off the top, I mean, we had 2 coaches fired already this year, and Matt Rule. Sorry, B. I think you wanted. I think you wanted him. I think you wanted him.
B's happy about that.
Yeah, B's happy about that. And he still has 4 years remaining on a 7-year deal that's worth $60 million. Right. He, on top of that, just signed another multi-million-dollar deal to coach Nebraska.
8 years.
8 years. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, B, that he still collects a check from the Panthers.
So yeah, the way they structured his Nebraska deal, the way I understand it, is he's getting paid low amounts in the early years from Nebraska, so he can continue to collect his money from Carolina, because they're offsets, right? His new salary is offsets what they owe him. Right. So he's like, well, I still want my money from Tepper, so you can pay me $1 million this year, $1.5 million next year, and it slowly ramps up, and then once the Carolina money runs out, then Nebraska has to start, paying their share. But yeah, it doesn't seem like anybody really learns from this, right? And I think that, Mike, like you said, the owners in the NFL in particular are not hurting for money. Like, none of them are getting ready to go broke or anything like that. But I think it does go to the kind of a consumer confidence kind of thing and the integrity of the league kind of thing. Like, if you're a Houston Texans fan, how tuned in are you? When hey, we hired David Culley, fired him after a year, hired Lovey, might fire him after a year, been talking about hiring Josh McCown, who has no coaching experience at all. Are you confident in that team, in the leadership of that team moving forward? The same thing, you look at even Carolina, you had a jackass running the team for 3 years who had no idea what he was doing. I have no confidence in David Tepper picking the right coach moving forward, right? And I think that happens around the league a lot. Like Jose always says, bad teams stay bad because they follow the same kind of processes and they end up with the same results. So I'm sure that the majority of that $800 million goes to a few of the franchises, right? Like Suge said, it ain't Pitt. Pittsburgh ain't accounting for that, right? It's not Baltimore. It's not these teams that are constantly winning.
Some would disagree with you there about Baltimore, Brodny, but
that's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
but
you're missing the point.
Yeah, but there are certain teams who are always near the bottom, who are always looking for new coaches, who are always looking for new GMs, who are always selling a rebuild to their fans. Always, it used to be it was a thing with the Wizards in the NBA in its area. It was always a 3-year plan. And when you got to 3 years, the fans would just tell you it was year one. It was a new plan. Mm-hmm. And you never actually got to that 3rd year and got to the end of the plan and saw that team rebuild. They just kept on hitting reset constantly. And you see teams in the NFL doing that. And I know it has to have your fans just checked out. And I'm sure the league doesn't want that. You want the fans engaged. You want the fans really rooting for the team. You want the fans supporting the team. And so, they're just kind of, giving them a little wake-up call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and here, Kogan says, even though they're billionaires, doesn't mean that they don't care about losing money. They didn't care about how Dan Snyder was running his shop until they found out he was taking from their pockets. And I agree. But me saying that it's not a money issue just means that, listen, I do think they care about their money, which is why they're willing to pay somebody to go away to try to keep people in their fan base, I guess, engaged and giving them, I guess, what they think they want, or bringing in somebody who they think can get their fan base engaged is so it's like, let me pay out this couple, 10-20 million dollars because I can bring in this new hot shot coach who I think will eventually, engage his fan base and fill the seats. But it's I don't know, it's a huge, to me, it's a huge issue. And I agree with you, B. Like, it's probably in that inner circle, it's probably, like you said, they're probably looking at those handful of owners and saying, listen, man, this is like you're causing this, right? This is a problem. Y'all need to fix this. And we know what y'all about to do now.
Yeah, like I can see them sitting there, them handing out those spreadsheets and take one, pass it down, and Jerry don't take one.
Right.
And they're like, hey, you didn't take your spreadsheet. Like, no, that's you, dog.
Well,
It's all you.
the thing is, I think, I like that they presented it that way, right? Because I think this expense is looked at more as a luxury, right? Because the owners have to pay that out of pocket. And when it comes to billionaires, yes, billionaires are about making money, but when it comes to things that they want, money is no object at all. So they'll spend ridiculous amounts of money on things that they want, and they don't look at it as a loss, right? So when you're hiring your friends, and it doesn't work out, it is what it is. I'll eat that. What do I care, right? But presenting it this way, even though it's in a spreadsheet or however they did at the owners meeting, it kind of puts it in, it puts it in their face like, hey, yes, you're spending money out of your pocket, but this is for your business, and this is how much your business is losing off your bad decisions. So it's just another way to present to them and make them think about, is this something that you really want to keep doing moving forward? I actually like that strategy, right? Because I do believe up until now, yeah, I'm not sure if it changed their minds, but I think they did look at it as, hey, whatever. It's like B said, there's no salary cap for this or anything like that, so it's not presented that way. If you had the money and you could spend it, then I'll spend it. I'll spend money on the next person. But if they say, okay, this is a lot of money that we're spending on this, let's do something about it. That right there can evoke a lot of change, more so than Rooney rules and all this other stuff. Saying, hey, look, we gotta make sure we're getting the right person, because we can't afford to not get that right person. We can't afford to mess up on that.
Right. So for me, it's an issue of, like Jose said, they're trying to get people in a room that they feel comfortable with. But more importantly, I think it's for the fan base, it's the promise of a new day. They try to get fans excited. Okay, we hired this dude. He didn't do it in a year and a half. So we're going to bring in the bigger, better version of him. But I also think that this may be somebody just being petty. It could be Dan Snyder saying, oh, you coming at me? Let me release this to stir up some controversy, because in society today, a lot of people are conscious, forward thinking. And especially with the country possibly going into a recession, they're putting out there like, look at these billionaires just giving away money for people to sit at home while we got people starving, people can't pay their rent and stuff like that. So we're going to shine this bad light on the ownership in the NFL to kind of bring them down. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Snyder was a part of this.
Yeah, that's a good point, Hendo. Like, I mean, I'm sure that it's nothing more shadier than what goes on in that room with those owners. I'm sure it's nothing more shadier than goes in there. Jump in here, Suge. What you got?
No, I agree with Hendo. This possibly could, been a Dan Snyder thing. It could have, I think when you look at it though, this sets a bad look on the owners, because you're saying, there's certain teams they're saying, we can't pay players, and then but you're spending $1 billion on coaches. Like, why? It's just mind boggling that you want players to take less money, but you won't do the same for coaches. Like you just said, Matt Rule is going to take from Nebraska and the Panthers. Why you could have used that money to get better players, on the Panthers team, or you take
Lamar
another
Jackson.
team like huh?
Like
What'd you say,
Lamar
B?
Jackson.
No.
Yeah, like Lamar Jackson,
No,
exactly.
that's
And then speaking about the Ravens, like and I know you said, B, they're not included in this, or they're possibly not in this top bunch that spends money on head coaches because they've had the same head coach for so long, But at the same time, if owners are willing to spend this kind of money on coaches, this kind of puts a light on some teams, like they're not spending money on players because damn, you have other teams spending millions of dollars on coaches, so why aren't you spending the same millions on players? But you find every excuse not to spend that money on players. You say, oh well, this and that and this and that, are you just being cheap and just don't want to pay your players? As Jose would say, the bargain bin. That's what you're using. You're trying to make your team like that. So it's very disappointing, but also very. I think it's just a bad look on all their owners. Like, you say you don't have money, but yet you're spending $1 billion on just coaching.
It could be social economics. Like, it's a certain sector of people I don't mind making rich. I don't mind putting them in a position to enhance their life and put the generational wealth in a certain sector. But then it's the field hands, so to speak. We can't make them all rich. We need to keep them at a level where they need to keep performing for us. We can't have them be comfortable, retire early, and pass this wealth on to their children so they can be better off. So sometimes it can be a little bit of that.
Well, Hendo, I mean, when's the last time you heard? Remember that special they did about players going broke, or players? When's the last time you heard about a coach going broke?
Good point.
Yeah,
I've never.
I didn't see any. I didn't see any of them on there.
Yeah. So I mean, you're 100% right. I agree with you on that. That the generational wealth. Hey, we'll get these coaches who look like us. We'll give them the money, and the players who don't look like us. Yeah, we're gonna pay them, but we're gonna pay them what we want to give them and what we think they're worth. To play our sport on our team. And this is where it comes in that minorities need to start getting into the business. I know it's gonna be hard because owners got that crew that try to that keep people out, but we need to start trying to get in there and try to get minority owners and people of color as owners to try to get more of this wealth spread out, not to people of color, to help these, because they're put the person said in the chat, they're the ones putting the body on the line. Yes, there's all different walks of people playing football in the NFL. A lot, but at the same time, who's the minority of the people playing football? There are certain people, and you got to keep those. You want to help. You want to make sure those people are taken care of, but yet owners don't look at it like that.
And it's funny because when certain players, like we've always talked about, hey, if I were Lamar, I would just sit out. I wouldn't play for Baltimore anymore until they give me my money, right? And the response to that is always, oh well, if he sits out, that's going to hurt his value. People are going to start calling him a quitter. People aren't going to want him on their team. They're not going to want to sign him long term. And to your point, Suge and Hendo, I mean, I remember not too long ago, a quarterback said, "I got $80 million in the bank. I'm not coming in because I don't want to play for you." And that quarterback was Carson Palmer, and he forced his way out of Cincinnati to the Raiders, and then he was traded from there to the Cardinals. And then, they were a top team, and he was getting all this MVP buzz. And I don't remember anybody ever bringing up the fact that he said, "I've got money. Screw you. I'm not playing for you ever again."
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's only certain players who could get away with that.
Of course.
So let me ask you all a question. Why is it that you guys think that this particular topic doesn't catch as much talk on Twitter or on the 4-letter networks and stuff like that? Why is it all player based when it's about contracts? We don't ever hear about situations like this. Shout out to my man Ferris in the chat, but his Giants are currently paying 3 head coaches, right? One that is there now, who's coaching the team now, and 2 that are no longer coaching, and they are paying them. I think Pat Shermer. I think he's still got 3 years on the deal they paying, and then Joe Judge, when he got let go, he was only 2 years into a 5-year deal.
Right.
Yeah.
So why don't we hear nothing about this? What, in your opinions, why is this not the hot button topic amongst the fans?
Because in my opinion, it's two things. Look who it affects, and look who's getting paid, and that'll tell you and that'll tell you everything you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't involve us or putting us in a bad light. Who cares? I'm a billionaire. It's my money. I do what I want to do, and I'm paying who I want to pay.
Yeah. And I think the fans don't question if coaches are worth the money that they make the way they do with black athletes. I mean, athletes in general, but particularly minority athletes. You know, nobody looks at Matt Rule and says, "Whoa, he's not worth $8-9 million a year," right? Nobody looks at Urban Meyer and said, people looked at Urban Meyer and said, he's not going to be a good coach.
Yep.
You shouldn't hire Urban Meyer because he's going to be a disaster in the NFL. But nobody said, oh, but he's not worth the money.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. And like Hendo says, it's about who is getting the money, and you know, people are fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like that's exactly what Suge was pointing out, right? You know, when they look a certain way, you know, you don't question it, you know, and that's just the way it is. And even when they do a terrible job, nobody's going to really harp on that. And look, it's different levels to it, right? Like just from the standpoint of, hey, the owner wants to hire somebody that they know that they're comfortable with, you know, most likely that looks like them. Right. And I'm going to spend the money, and it is what it is. The media isn't going to say much about it because, look, they want to. Part of it is because, you know, they are locked in step with what they're doing. Right. Like they're used to coaches looking a certain way. They're used to the, you know, players looking a certain way, like at quarterback position. So certain narratives are just kind of passed down from generation to generation. But also for coaches, particularly bad coaches, they're not going to go that hard criticizing them because it's about maintaining access, right? So, you know, I see Kadarius in there, I see Kimberly in the chat, you know, talking about our Ravens, right? And you know, we're talking about Greg Roman, we're talking about Eric DaCosta and John Harbaugh, all these people in the front office right now that we don't think are doing particularly well. Yeah, the media's not going to go that hard at them because you never know where these guys land later on. You know, they land on different teams and they say, hey, I remember that reporter is writing this about me. I'm not going to let them interview me. They're not going to get in the press room, right? So they're always going to maintain a level of neutrality when it comes to that, right? Even when they're doing bad, they're not going to really go hard at them. Players, you know, aren't they don't normally rise to that position where they have that level of access or level of power to block access, right? Even the coaches that do get in those positions, you know, outside of Tomlin, most of those black coaches don't have that kind of pull to be like, listen, you're not coming in here. You know what I'm saying? And even Tomlin doesn't move that way. So I mean, it's just it's a different world when it comes to that.
Yeah, for sure. And even with Tomlin, there's I was talking to you about it the other day. There's fans that say Tomlin was never worth being a heck what we paid him and being a head coach, signing extensions. The man hasn't had a losing season. There hasn't. I mean, he's missed the playoffs. Every team sometimes misses the playoffs. There's not a team that, you know, other than maybe Bill Belichick, that just, you know,
he's missed playoffs too.
You know, but he's missed playoffs too. And yet people will harp at that. And I think one reason why we don't hear about this really, what sells, the athlete that's upset that he's not getting paid, or the coach that's upset about getting paid. It's going to be the athletes. They, you know, and with coaches, they can just move on. They can go to a college like Matt Rule. Think about that. He just got fired from a NFL team.
Yep.
And he goes to Nebraska. If a player is fired, like we never hear about that, a player getting fired. We hear about players getting cut, things like that. Teams will stop messing with them.
Yeah.
A coach, that doesn't happen to. So I think that Jose is right. It's access, but it's also the fact that the we don't hear about this because of the coaches and what they're able to do afterwards. Whereas a player, when they get talked about bad, it can mess up like things. It can mess up their careers, and sometimes people like playing God. They like messing with people's careers, and it's a crappy thing that people do to these players. So
I think the other part of why we don't really talk about coaches is what we mentioned before, and that's the cap, right? The cap exists to artificially, lower player salaries, lower overall team salaries, keep spending down for the owners, but it also makes fans hyper focused in on what players make. And we don't know what Eric DeCosta is making really. I mean, I'm sure you could look it up, but it's not something that's talked about. I don't. They report what John Harbaugh and Greg Roman and them make, but I don't remember what John Harbaugh makes. I don't care because what does it affect? It doesn't affect anything.
Right.
But like over the past few years, you knew that Brandon Williams was costing you $16 million. It could be going to somebody else. You knew that Calais was costing $14 million or however much that could have been going to somebody else. We know that Marcus Peters is costing X amount of money that could be going to someone else next season. And I think it's a tool that the owners use to deflect attention away from themselves and onto the players, away from the head coach, away from the front office, and onto solely the players, because fans will sit and argue that, hey, this player, that player, this player, that player should all lose their jobs. We don't think about it that way, right? We don't think we think, hey, they should get cut so we can save that cap money. But you're saying, hey, they should be unemployed because this imaginary cap says that they make too much money. And that's not something that really exists with the coaches and everybody else. We don't think about their salaries at all because they don't want you to.
And like you said at the very beginning, right? If they were rolled into the cap, then all of a sudden these ridiculous hirings, they will cut all the way down. Right. Then it's, hey man, I like you, man, but you got I need more than I coach high school football. Right.
I need more than I know Peyton Manning.
Right. Then it's a true meritocracy. Not true, but it's closer to a meritocracy than just than just the straight nepotism, what it is now. Right. So, because they don't need to prove anything now.
So to that point, and that you kind of took my next question for you guys. If we add a cap, right? How does that affect what we all discussing tonight, right? Minority hires.
Right.
Does it lower the chance? It's already slim pickings right now, right? Does that lower their chances of getting hired if there is a cap set, because they know, okay, if I hire this guy, because of this cap, he's going to be either with me for this 3, 4, 5 years, or does it? And if it doesn't lower their chances, do we start to see like lower salary for coaches, right? Especially coaches that doesn't have all the experience, or coaches of color or minority coaches. Will that be the next problem that happens if they move on to a cap?
Well, I think the problem.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say. Well, the problem is what's going to affect the cap? Do assistant coaches, do special team coaches, or is it just a head coach?
That's a good question.
If it's all coaches, I think you would see. I think we would still see probably the same amount of minority hires, but I would see coaches staying longer with teams, because you're not just going to hire somebody for a year or two and then get rid of them. You're going to keep somebody for a good long time. Now, I do think we would probably see more innovative coaches, or coaches that, not just young hotshot coaches. You would be more of you would have to be a head coach. You couldn't be like an assistant and then hired as a head coach unless they really believed in you, and you interviewed well and things like that, because I don't think teams would take that chance, especially if these salaries were going to hit the cap. If we're just talking about head coaches and the assistant coaches and all that doesn't affect the cap, then I would still see teams taking gambles because it's only that one coach. But if it's the whole staff, I think teams would then be more careful with their hires and who they brought in, and would make, like you said, they would want them for a good 4 to 5 years as the head coach. They're not gonna just keep him for a year or two and then get rid of him.
Yeah, I think I think initially, if there was a cap, they would set it pretty high because they want to keep their friends, making money, right? But as it plays out, and yes, I think it will look very similar in the beginning to what it is now, because okay, yeah, we're putting a cap on this, but don't worry, we're still going to take care of our friends. But as it plays out, and you get a situation where you're firing Joe Judge, you're firing Matt Rule, and you're firing these guys that aren't working out, and then you're looking at your cap, and it's like, man, we can't go after Sean Payton now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the money, and then you're gonna have to go and pay probably a minority coach, a coach that's willing to take less to get his foot in the door, right? But that will give those coaches opportunities because they're the only ones that will take those jobs for less. And then when they prove themselves, now you're in a situation where, hey, Steve Wilkes, let's say Steve Wilkes does work out, right? That's the only coach that they can afford. Steve Wilkes works out and he turns out to be an excellent head coach. Well, now you're going to either have to pay me, or if you can't afford to pay me, well, I'm gonna go to somebody that has a cap to pay me, right? And when the next time the Panthers are searching for a head coach, it's not going to be just a impulsive buy. The next time the Giants go search for a head coach, it's not going to be an impulsive buy. The next time the Texans go search for a head coach, it's not going to be an impulsive buy. They're going to actually do their research, right? They're going to really vet that coach and make sure that they get it right, and they don't put themselves in a position to where they miss out on somebody that could truly help their team.
Yeah, real quick. I wanted to bring up this. I forgot to mention it. You would probably see more inner hires from coaching staff, but you would also probably see teams trading coaches. I think that would become more prominent. That teams would start to trade coaches for possible players and things like that. I think you would see more of that if there was a cap.
Good point, sure.
So my question is this cap aside from the regular cap, or is it all combined into one?
It had to be a coach's cap, I would think. The cap right now, the salary cap now is for the players, and that's bargaining with the players' union. So it had to be a coach's union. Yeah.
So for me personally, I think nothing would change. It would still be the same because listen, these billionaires want who they want around them. And we've seen, even with the Rooney Rule, even with the changes, you get a 3rd-round pick, 2 3rd-round picks for hiring minority coaches. You know what I'm saying? Stuff that will help your team actually progress and win. They still said, you know what? I'm going to hire this same old person that's been recycled around the NFL. So as far as the cap goes, it's just like the player salary cap. They'll find a way around it. Yeah. They'll find a way to, hey, this dude didn't work out. Let me go for this high-profile coach and maneuver the money somehow to where it's pushed down the line, and they'll keep restructuring. I don't think anything will change because, as we've seen throughout the history of sports, billionaires are going to do what they want to do, regardless of the repercussions or ramifications. So, for me, nothing changes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know because we, like you said, we've seen that financial responsibility is only for the players. It's never for coaches. It's never for owners. That's why they had the amnesty clause in the NBA, like we mentioned before. Mm-hmm. That's why after this meeting and seeing this spreadsheet, these coaches are going to go out and hand out, or these owners are going to go out and hand out 5-6 year deals worth $7, $8, $9 million a year to rookie coaches again this offseason, right? I don't think that there is anything that will necessarily change it because they don't think it's a problem. I mean, they know how much money they've wasted on these coaches. True. They don't care. They just don't care. Other than Mark Davis, who can't afford to fire his coaches.
But situation like that, if they made everybody feel that way, right, where it's just like, okay, I might have the money, but if there's a cap and I can't go and get the coach I want, that's gonna make some teams think twice moving forward, right? They put themselves in a situation where it's just like, I literally can't go and sign the guy I want.
Mm-hmm. Well, it depends on, like if Hendo said, if you're able to manipulate the cap the way you do with the players' cap, then it won't change anything.
Yeah,
like so, and as long as you can structure the contracts however you want to structure them, you'll be able to work your way around it.
But the other part of it too is fan reaction, because now, fans are looking at a salary cap for the coaches, and that's going to make them look at it too. Like, why are we hiring this guy, or we spent this much on this coach, and he's eating up this much of the cap, right? Like you get that part of it too.
Well, Kogan asking, do y'all think if there was less job security for these coaches that we might see a lack of aggression from a game management standpoint? We already see that NFL coaches are unbelievably conservative.
Yeah.
And fans and media have been conditioned to be that way as well. Listen, there's a ton of data that tells you going forward on fourth down in almost every situation is the right call. And coaches won't do it. Fans will hate you if you do it, and the media will call you a moron if you do it. The league is just ridiculously conservative as is, and that's knowing that, hey, if I get fired, I still get all of my money anyway. So, I mean, a lack of job security, I don't know how you can make it more conservative.
Yeah.
You had something, Hendo?
Oh, I was gonna say, and not give fully guaranteed contracts.
Oh,
that would help.
Yeah, that would help. Yeah. So I didn't want to leave out Kimberly, a friend of all of our shows. Right. She has a question. Do we think Eric DeCosta will sign both players player contracts before 2022 season over just carries?
Okay. I saw that.
And
yeah. So I saw that. I wasn't gonna bring it up. Kimberly, I see your question. We're going to answer that tomorrow night. Okay, go on a Ravens round table. Okay, on a Ravens round table. I don't want to turn this into tune in. I don't want to turn this into a Ravens stream, but yes. Appreciate you coming through though.
I mean, there's 4 Ravens fans on there.
5.
Sure. Yeah. 5.
No. Oh, no, B's not a Ravens fan. I'm sorry.
There you go.
No, he's definitely a Ravens fan.
Suge's right. 4. Suge's right. 4.
Excluding Brodny.
So look, guys. First of all, I want to say I appreciate y'all hanging with me at this time of night. Like I said, it's been a busy couple weeks, and I had to get some content in for the people, so nobody's yelling at me tomorrow or asking me where it is, where's the show, whatever the case may be. So I appreciate you guys as always. You already know that. I don't want to hold you guys any longer. I appreciate everybody that came through the chat. Yes. Kogan, Kendarius, Kimberly, Ferris, everybody that came through. I appreciate y'all checking in on the first live stream of Open Mic.
Mr. J in there.
Mr. J, yes. But before we get out of here, obviously you guys got to plug your stuff.
Not really.
I mean, they know you guys are listen. They're here because of you guys anyway. You guys are the celebrities,
Mike.
So,
Mike. You don't think when they clicked on YouTube, they didn't see us? They saw OTR Mike live.
Hey, and they figured if I'm live, y'all not far behind. So, let's say we got Gilbert in here that says, I hope G-Bro gets his walking papers in the air.
Hold on for a second. We just sat here. Put that comment back up there. We just sat here talked about how the league is wasting money on fired coaches, and Ravens fans are in here like, yo, we got fire some coaches tomorrow.
Let's get it on.
Jose, let's really be honest right now. How happy would Ravens fans be if tomorrow they fired Harbaugh?
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Harbaugh? Yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so I mean, how many years does he have left on his contract, or does he even have any?
His contract is, I think, it's 2 years. In fact, when he extended last year or the year before, his isn't one of the more egregious.
It's not one of the crazy ones, but still, if they had to pay his 2 years, Ravens fans would still be happy. They'd be like, screw it.
Oh yeah.
After this year, it might even be 1. So they got rid of him after this year
because they did him and Giro before this season.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like you said, they will be like, "Hey, let us get in on this. We not a part of. Hey, let us help you make it $1 billion and get something." But yeah, like I said, fellas, man, I appreciate you guys. Suge, you my guy. I want to get you in here. to plug your show that I will be on Friday with Hendo, I believe. So let the people know where they can find you. And tomorrow, you got something going on tomorrow? No, damn, my days all messed up. Tuesday.
No, he does have something tomorrow. Tomorrow is Tuesday.
Yeah, it is Monday technically.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Well, not for him.
Don't mind.
It's still below 12 o'clock here.
Yeah.
How you doing, Brodny? It's only 10 here. That's right. I do a show on Tuesday, Still Conspiracy. We're talking Ravens and Steelers. I think I'm gonna have Brodny on talking Panthers and Steelers and Ravens. His three favorite subjects. So check us out Tuesday, 6:15 p.m. Maybe Hendo will be there.
Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah, Pacific Standard Time. Make sure I get that right because I don't want you showing up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because I won't be there. And then Friday, like OTR Mike says, I have late night with Suge Knight, and I'll have two special guests in Hendo and OTR Mike this Friday, 8:15 PST time, 11:15 Eastern. So come hang out. That's a show that just we talk about anything. We can talk sports. We can talk movies. We can talk music. Hendo might, talk about his job. Mike might talk about his job. You never know. So just come hang out with us on Friday, and check me out at Suge Knight 323 on Twitter and TikTok, and Suge Knight 1323 on Twitch.
There you have it, Mr. Hendo.
Yes, sir.
Let the people know where they can see you, man. Let them know where they can find your good content.
You can find me at Ravens Online on Gatekeepers every night after a Ravens game, win or lose. I'll be there. I do a preview video every Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how I feel or depending on how hard I work. You can also find me at Instagram and Twitter at our Gatekeepers. You can find me on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Coach Evans' channel, Sip the Tally Films. Myself, OTR Mike, Jose Brodny, Chris just joking with the Ravens Roundtable. It's a good time. Make sure y'all check it out.
Wow.
Yes,
indeed. Like pretty much everywhere except the second round of the playoffs, huh?
Wow. Wow. Wow.
They can't help it.
I'm sorry. I'm done now.
He's a hurtful individual. He's upset.
He couldn't help it. He couldn't help it. Jose B, let the people know where they can find you guys in the many places that you'll be.
You're gonna find B on a back of a milk carton.
You can find me behind the scenes of Open Mic with OTR Mike. Okay, yes. Anytime you get that notification at 5 a.m. of a new episode, that's your boy here putting out that good work. Okay. Mm-hmm. Also, every Wednesday night, 7:15 p.m., the Lunch Break Hot Take Show, the LBHT Show, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time is where you can find us every Wednesday. After that, we do the overtime show for our patrons, patreon.com/LBHT Show. And by the way, that supports this show as well. So, go ahead and take a look into that. Also, myself, B, and Mikey do a boxing podcast, Ring Kings podcast. We just did a live stream earlier tonight before this stream. So, go check that out because we've been streaming all day. And, we appreciate the views and the listens and all that good stuff. All right. Mm-hmm. And anywhere you listen to audio podcasts, we are available. Just make sure you give us a 5-star review.
B, you want to mention Old Man Gamers or?
I don't, but I do want to say shout out to Brandon Buck. It is his birthday, so
happy birthday, Buck.
Happy birthday, Buck.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, so look, man, again, I appreciate you guys. You already know immensely. Like, you guys are huge supporters. As Jose said, man, when you get that notification, it's him, man. Look, don't get me wrong. I asked him if he needs help, but he got it. But he's a huge help. But all of you guys are awesome supporters, so I appreciate you guys. And look, man, that's another episode of Open Mic with your boy, OTR Mike. I'm still rocking and rolling, man. I'm not going to be solo all the time. As you see, my boys had my back tonight, and they killed it on a topic that I feel doesn't get enough smoke on these Twitter streets, man. If this was about players getting paid to not play or not being on a team, this would be a huge topic, I feel like. So, guys, thank you for coming on and killing it. B, I hope you got that outro or whatever intro/outro queued up for me.
Do we have one?
We can run.
Just make one real quick.
We can run. We can run with the intro and outro it. That's how we do.
We're gonna work on that. Don't worry. That's the next thing to come up.
Look, man. Look, this is the first live stream. We will get it together. You see how these other guys' live streams look? This is going to look like that too eventually. All right. So stick with us, bear with us, and I already appreciate y'all and all the love and support. Keep on supporting though. If you haven't subscribed, do that now and like this video and give your boy a 5-star rating on all your favorite podcast platforms. With that said, we out of here. We'll holla. Peace.
It's your boy Verse, and this is Open Mic with OTR Mike.
Yeah, that's right. This is the show where the mic is open for any discussion.
Feeling about OTR. I don't think we're done.
Try to find something that's going to be interesting. Then obviously on the Wednesday we got the actual show and then the overtime show, and I know
I'm all about.
It's your boy Verse, and this is Open Mic